Hey everyone, this is Laura. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to share with you 5 KDP niches that are so bad that I would completely avoid these niches. Or if you're making one of these books, you should just stop wasting your time. Now, I've been publishing for a number of years now, so I definitely have some experience I can share with you guys. And I've seen people talking about these books across social media. So in today's video, I'm going to list them out and let you know why you should be avoiding these books and what you could do instead. Anyways, without further ado, let's dive into today's video. The first obvious bad niche is blank journal, planner, and notebook because the barrier to entry to this niche is so low and there's so many products available, which means the market for this particular niche is already saturated. So if you look on Amazon, I bet you it's going to be tens and thousands of products already available. So the only thing that you're actually competing in this niche is going to be your price. And even let's say if you're just actually running ads to your blank journal or whatsoever, right? And then your competitor is going to be someone who's been on Amazon for ranking for particular keywords for many years. Some of them actually been on Amazon for more than 5 years already. So they've already gathered so much data to the book for journals whatsoever, and with thousands of reviews. For a regular customer who coming to buy a journal, obviously people are gonna go for someone who's already been there for a long time, right? And with a lower price, then that's going to be their first choice, right? You can do a really nice cover whatsoever, but the ads money you're spending on your blank journal with so little price, it just doesn't make much sense, okay? And also as a consumer, let's say I was buying a journal that I want to write down my, my feelings whatsoever, right? I would rather go for something a little bit more premium. I would go for something with a nice leather cover, okay, and maybe like a very premium quality paper. Unfortunately, with a self-published journal on Amazon, the quality of paper and the cover is just not there, unfortunately, right? I'd rather have something with a very glossy paper, a little bit of weight with the paper so I can write it down really nicely. Unfortunately, it's just not there. But this is not to say that you cannot make a nice product for journals on Amazon. For example, like the mom I want to hear you say, or dad I want to hear you say, I'm sure plenty of you have heard of that journal. It's actually serving a very particular audience and solving a very concerning problem in our society nowadays, right? Because it's actually bridging the connection between kids and parents and with a very strong emotional hook. And what they're doing right there is also combining social media marketing. So this becomes a very powerful marketing tool because you actually has a purpose that's going to, make family life better. So that's a very strong emotional or sentimental hook to consumer. Of course, it's going to sell really well. So what I'm saying here is that, completely avoid blank journal because the market is completely oversaturated. You're only competing on price, which doesn't make any sense at all. The second bad niche is AI generated coloring books. And don't get me wrong, I understand that AI is making our life so much easier, but when it comes to coloring books, there are actually a few things you need to be aware of. Number one is a gray shading error in your image. Basically, that means your customers will not be able to color into those gray shading area, right? That's a very obvious reason, and that's going to result in a very bad customer experience. The next one is actually when, yes, it still happens quite often, is when you see like 6 fingers on a human or 3 legs, or maybe a horse with 5 legs. That still happens quite often, right? And you want to be aware of that kind of mistakes. And what if, let's say, you missed that kind of error in your book, then your customer find out about it and they're going to leave a really bad review on your book listing page. You obviously don't want that to happen, right? So when you look at the bestsellers in this niche, most of them actually have very simple design that, sometimes you just like, how could this even happen? But they actually want the customers to enjoy the coloring process, to use the create imagination to, use different colors rather than doing something overcomplicated. That's one thing. And also because they have a thriving coloring community that they actually get people to share their work on their social media. That's how things are spreading right now on their coloring books, right? So you want to look at your bestseller strategy, marketing strategy, and also look at the quality of the product, right? Most of the time, it's going to be high quality, big images where people can color in, which is why, I don't recommend anybody to use AI generated coloring image. So that's one thing. Another thing I wanted to kind of segue into this is when Amazon actually see you pumping out too many books in 1 month. Let's say you're doing 5 to 6 books or coloring books in 1 month, then most likely it's going to trigger Amazon's algorithm to look deeply into your account. And let's say if they say, hey, how is this person able to generate so many books in 1 month? They're going to take a closer look at your account. Then you might be at risk of getting your book banned or your account blocked. So you obviously don't want to risk that happen to your account by simply creating coloring or AI generated coloring books. The third niche is generic recipe book, where people just simply do AI dumping the recipe into a book. And or maybe they found a certain recipe on Instagram or Pinterest and they put that recipe into their book. Let's call it 100 easy family recipe, or maybe 100 easy delicious family recipe cookbook, so to speak, right? You get the point. But basically these kind of books don't serve a particular audience. That's one thing. They also doesn't tell about the dietary preference. I say, for example, what is the recipe going to be? Is it going to be 100 mixed recipe, or is it going to be 100 particular recipe, or Mediterranean recipe, or is it going to be Italian recipe? It doesn't tell anything about it. It's just some random collection of recipes where I can just probably do that myself on the internet, right? There's no point of people actually buying this. Whereas if you put this kind of book right next to a celebrity chef cookbook, those cookbooks actually have a very high value, right? They actually write those recipes properly with nutritional value. They also tell you recipe or ingredient substitution, and they even teach you what is the benefits of eating particular diet. This could be a high protein diet or low carb diet. What is going to be beneficial to you as an audience? Whereas these kind of AI dumping recipe books don't even say anything. In a way, it's just as bad as those low content journal planner where there's simply people can Google those things ourselves, right? So if you really wanted to do a recipe cookbook, you want to be specific in terms of what is going to be your audience, like what is going to be the age group, right? Say, for example, maybe it could be seniors, or maybe it could be for beginners, right, to certain diet. And what is going to be the particular diet you're going to write, right? So you want to be focused, hyper-focused, specific, serving the purpose in this kind of cookbook niche, rather than AI dumping recipe, teaching people how to make a scrambled egg, so to speak. The next niche is generic trackers and logbooks. Basically, this could be medication trackers, blood pressure trackers, or password logbook. But think about it, right? Our smartwatch does most of these trackings, so who's actually going to buy these books, right? That's one, perhaps the most important thing you should think about. And the next thing is where you can basically use a simple Canva template to make this book. We're talking about low barrier to entry and an overly saturated market again, where you're really actually just competing on pricing, which obviously you don't want to be in that situation. This is why I don't recommend anybody to be in this niche where simply there's not much of a user case in real life. That's one thing. The next one is, again, low barrier to entry. You're competing on pricing, which seems like a waste of time to me. Last but not least, the affirmation and gratitude journals. So this niche was very popular, and at one point everybody was using ChatGPT to make the prompts and basically put it in their book. And it got so popular that even some of the coloring books has these affirmation sentences, and you just color those books. But then again, there's low barrier to entry because there's no technical skills involved, and even a 5-year-old can make this, right? And then again, very saturated market, low barrier to entry, highly saturated market. That means you're going to competing on price and the number of reviews again. Okay, so you obviously don't want to be in that situation. But let's say if you really are into this kind of affirmation journals, right? What you could do is to maybe twist this niche a little bit, right? Focus on, let's say, Bible verses, Bible verse journals for Christian mom, or Bible verse journals for first-time mom. Okay. What I'm saying here is you use the Bible verses to serve a specific purpose, guiding people through a difficult time, right? I'm just giving you an example. That could be a pretty good, interesting concept, right? But you obviously want to verify the keyword here, okay? So that's called adding value through your journals rather than using ChatGPT to prompt or AI dump into your journal again. Or alternatively, you can simply make a high content book and include your affirmation journal as a digital product, right? To increase the perceived value of your book. That could be a better way to add value again. Rather than having this product as a standalone product on Amazon, you increase the perceived value of your high content book, right? So that could be the way to go. But I wouldn't recommend anybody to just do a simple affirmation or generic affirmation gratitude journal. Overly saturated, low barrier to entry, low price, no point of making this. Anyways, guys, that's it for today's video. I understand that we're approaching holiday season and some of these niches might seem so tempting, and people talk about this on social media because it's so easy to make and apparently make so much money on Amazon. But always just remember, anything that's easy to make, low barrier to entry, okay? And then saturated market means low price you can charge, okay? And I guarantee you, anything that sounds too good to be true and you want to sell it on Amazon, I guarantee you it's not going to make you much money. And in fact, you might end up losing money to Amazon ads, which obviously you don't want to do that, okay? And so hopefully, I understand people talk about this in social media, but hopefully through today's video, I give you some perspective into what these are. And I'm sure that plenty more bad niches out there. I just happen to pick these 5 for today's video. Anyways, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and leave any comments you have so I can get to your question in the next video. Thank you for watching. Until next time.